Slurpity doopity doo! Slurpty derp, my G's. And today we have a nice phase plant Reese base that I've made. I've called it the Elegant Reese because it's not an elephant, it's elegant, okay? And it's a medium difficulty Reese, 2.7 out of 5 stars difficulty rating. This is a cool thing that I've thought of that I can make use of in phase plant, which I can't do in Vital, to make a Reese and to give it a little bit of a nice smoother touch, you know, because a smooth touch is better than a rough touch, isn't it, John? Yeah, that's right, John. I don't know anyone called John. Anyway, except John the Baptist, he's one of my best mates. Yeah, so basically the Reese sounds like this. I'm not doing any editing today because I can't be bothered today. I like this one. It's got a nice little natural touch on it. And what actually, talk about John the Baptist. He is actually involved in this patch. I forgot. That's probably why it's come full circle. Yeah, John the Baptist is actually one of the best reverbs in the Convolver. I like the Falkland Palace for a while, but I think the first Baptist Nashville is one of the best ones, and that's important in this patch actually because I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it short. I don't have to go into every little position of the filter, every specific frequency cutoff point. You know, the whole idea that I did with this bass, this Reese, that I haven't really done so much before, is thrown the saw waves that make up a Reese directly into 100% convolution, process that on a separate chain, and then bring that over to another channel, which is where the sub bass comes in, and then they all kind of get distorted and blended together after that. So it's basically like we're using like these harsh saw waves, but we're running them through 100% reverb, and then we're adding in like the sine wave underneath for the bass part of the Reese. So that's what I've done here pretty much. So if I'll just solo this, the movement's all really coming from this trance gate, and yeah, it does get a little bit too bright without it, but I can take off a couple of these things that are causing the brightness, maybe some of the distortion as well, you know. But also because there's a bunch of reverb on the saw waves, it also sounded better because it's quite a long reverb. Also ended up sounding better when I put a trance gate on after that, you know. So what we've got for this patch is we've got two saw waves, a little bit detuned. So one at 11.8 minus and one at minus 12.16. And the idea is also to add a bit of a sine wave into the FM on both. So we've got a nice sine wave at minus 24 down here. The level is a bit lower, and that's going to go into the phase of saw 1 and saw 2, both two different ways, just for fun. And then yeah, that's basically going to give us these saw waves with the sine wave, and I've got a bit of noise here. Okay, so a bit of a 15% noise, which is going to be quite useful to fill out the high end a bit. And yeah, so the sine wave though is going to lane 2. Okay, so that's going to be processed over here. But the white noise and the saw waves both go into lane 1. Okay, so that's basically the whole first part. Sort of, I think I've discussed everything there really, you know. There's a bit of global unison on everything. I'm wondering now if I used a bit too much, but let's take that down just a little bit. And then, yeah, so the key concept then is as the saw waves are run through into lane 1 on their own, I'm going to chuck on the Convolver, put the Baptist mode on, 100% mixed. Okay, so saw waves going through there, but the sine wave's not going through that one. It's going straight into lane 2. Okay, so now these reverbed saw waves, what I thought I would do is give them some movement, like you already know. I did a trance gate on them. Yeah, and then next I've done a bit of filtering, so a bit more Reese classic sound with a notch filter here. You kind of hear a bit more of the bass cut through because you kind of clearing out a bit of mud in the mid-range, you know. Don't always have to do that, but can work nice. It usually works nicely for Reese's, a bit of notch filtering, you know. So non-linear notch filter. And I've just done a little bit of movement on, like, I think there's only a couple of parameters where I've used an LFO, and it's really just to give a bit of realism. It's not really doing anything like massive, you know. The main movement's coming from the trance gate here, you know, which I've just tweaked a little bit to give like a cool kind of rhythm that I think fits with the drums. Yeah, so next I did, because of the trance gate, it leaves like a bit of a gap, you know, so I wanted to put on like a bit of delay after that, so it's just 2%, just for a little like artificial tail after that kind of choppiness of the trance gate. So I like that. And then now we go into the part where it gets good, and we add the sine wave in with our reverb saw waves. Yeah. So first port of call is a big amount of saturation with a distortion mode here. So here we're like really smashing that sine wave together with the saw waves, but obviously because of the convolver being on, we have a much different flavor of Reese than if it was off, you know. So very like big and out there and sort of stereoed and just like a bit softer as well, because it kind of normally where I would low pass the saw waves to make them a bit softer because they're not so harsh. The convolver's done that job for me basically, you know. So I've got you could have the classic Reese sound if you wanted without the convolver, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Could be quite nice and punchy and cut through the mix quite nicely still, that one. But I wanted to make something different, different kind of flavour of Reese today. So I just bit my tongue. So that's why I went through a few convolutions. I found that the Baptist one was still my favourite. I've turned the tone up a bit here. But yeah, just softening the Reese saw waves using that instead of a low pass, and giving it like its own convolution finish, you know. So after that sine wave has been distorted into the patch, then we're going to do a bit more distortion, the phase distortion, which gives a even more grittiness to the high end, because the tone is all the way up pretty much, driving it up about 20% or so. So I'm reintroducing a lot of that brightness that was sort of taken out by the convolver, but because I'm reintroducing it in this way, it's not like the same as just the bright saw wave as you would have had without the convolver, you know. So it's a softer version of the high end, which is what I try to go for, you know, when I'm doing Reese's, like try and soften the high end a bit and then reboost it a bit again somehow, you know. So a bit of extra filtering to finish up this part here. So this is where, again, just classic notch filter, always nice on a Reese. I'm doing it just, again, on the whole patch together now with the saw waves and the sine waves together. So this is like optional one, but for me, I do like it because it does like enhance the bass a bit more, clear out a bit of muddiness. And you have to remember that the Reese is very full on, you know, so any kind of filtering or volume movement that you can do, like with the trance gate or with a notch filter, is going to help shape it to make it more interesting, so it's not so, you know, sustained all the time. So anyway, that's the idea there. And then we literally just have a little high boost at the end. That's nothing crazy. I just thought I could give everything a bit more brightness, you know. But you notice that brightness on it. You know, you can hear the white noise. You can hear the saw waves as well. But because they've been convoluted, they're like soft. So for me, it's like a pleasurable, gritty brightness. It's not like a super harsh and destructive brightness, you know. So that's why I'm quite confident in boosting it a bit more there, you know. So we've got like that fullness of the sine wave underneath. We've got the saw wave covering across the whole spectrum, although it's been very heavily reverbed. but the high end, most importantly, has been softened, and it's still very, very present and bright, but it's a soft version of that, you know. So that's why I liked running the saw waves through the convolver at 100%, and then blending it back in and distorting it all together after that. So I thought that was quite cool today for the elegant Reese. Perhaps we can do a tiny bit of side chaining as well. Just giving it like a little bit of an extra movement with the sidechain as well to make it just slightly more dynamic still. The MIDI, as you can see here, I've done nothing crazy. I've just got a sort of F with a couple of sort of grace notes, A, and then another one going up an octave to a higher F. And that's, you could probably add a bit of extra glide, I suppose, here. Okay, and if you wanted to obviously change the rhythm, then you can just play with a different trance gate setting, you know? Draw your own ones in, essentially. Or you could just take it off. But for this sound, I was sort of adjusting everything afterwards, in terms of how the trance gate was chopping it up, you know. So it's too full on without it, you know. So it's the kind of Reese that is designed to have that kind of movement in it, as I've done it in the patch already. All right, thanks for watching my G's. Hope you liked that video. I'm currently working on some new Flaze Plant presets. I think I might have a phase plant pack out by Christmas. That's hopefully the goal. I've got some cool ones so far, but still got to make a lot more still to get a good sized folder for you guys. But there will be some more phase plant packs coming out soon. Until then, you've got other ones on the website. You've got Vital. Feel free to grab some of those and support the channel. Feel free to jump over to Patreon and support a little bit there if you can. And feel free to book some one-on-one sessions on my website as well. And we can get to work on one of your tracks together. Thanks a lot for watching today, and have a great rest of your day. Peace out. Much love.